My name is Vorruk, Senior Scribe of the Galactic Stellar Forum. I have recorded 712 sessions of interspecies diplomacy. I have watched empires collapse over a disagreement about trade tariffs. I have seen species cry, scream, beg, and once, memorably, throw furniture. But nothing prepared me for the day the humans left in silence. Let me set the scene for you, because you deserve to understand exactly how extraordinary that silence was. The Stellar Forum is the most powerful diplomatic body in the known galaxy. 43 species. One chamber. Every argument, every treaty, every war, settled inside those walls. The Forum is not quiet. It is never quiet. On a calm day it sounds like 43 different marketplaces operating simultaneously while someone plays a horn instrument badly in the corner. On a heated day, you do not want to know what it sounds like on a heated day. The humans had been members for 63 of their solar years, 63 years of showing up, sitting down, and absolutely refusing to behave the way the rest of us expected them to. They clapped when they agreed with something. They laughed, loudly, at completely inappropriate moments. They brought food to sessions, which was a violation of forum protocol that we stopped writing citations for after the 14th offense. And they argued. Oh, by the cold void of space, did they argue. Not rudely. That was the part that confused everyone, including Elder Mauv of the Telhari, who had called me into his office 3 separate times to say, and I quote, "Vorruk, are they insulting us, or are they being friendly?" Because I genuinely cannot tell. I told him I could not tell either. He did not find this comforting. The humans were represented primarily by a woman named Petra Okafor, small, brown-skinned, hair coiled close to her head. She walked into every single session like she owned the building, which she absolutely did not, and yet somehow the building seemed uncertain about that. Beside her sat Tommo Vance, tall, pale, with the kind of face that made you think he was about to tell a joke. He was always about to tell a joke. He also somehow always knew exactly where the conversation was going before it arrived. I watched him lean over once and whisper something in Petra's ear 30 seconds before the Vorruk delegation said the exact words he had predicted. She had not looked surprised, just tired. The third human was a young man, Dayo Idris. He said almost nothing in session. He just watched, took notes. But when he did speak, people listened, and then afterward walked around looking slightly stunned, like they had been lightly tapped on the side of the head with a philosophical concept. Now, the session in question. It was a standard resource dispute. The Telhari wanted exclusive mining rights to the Vela belt, a stretch of asteroids sitting between 3 contested sectors. The Vorruk said no. The Brel said no, but loudly and with gestures. The Zthauvek said nothing, which in their culture apparently meant no with violence attached. And the humans had a funny look on their faces. Not angry, not amused, something else. Something I did not have a word for at the time. Petra stood up when the floor was opened. The chamber, as always, expected her to argue, to laugh, to make a reference no one else understood, and then explain it poorly. She said, "The Forum has been aware of the Vela situation for 11 months. We submitted a proposed resolution in month 3. We submitted a revised resolution in month 7. We submitted a final resolution in month 10. All 3 were tabled without discussion. The chamber was quiet. Not because it was respectful, because it was confused." Petra continued. "We are not going to submit a 4th resolution." She sat down. Elder Mauv blinked. He has 8 eyes, so this was a considerable event. Representative Okafor, do you wish to speak in support of any of the proposals currently before the Forum? Petra looked at him. No. Tommo Vance was writing something on his datapad. He did not look up. Dayo Idris had stopped taking notes. He was looking at the ceiling with an expression of complete eerie calm. The session continued. Badly. The Telhari and Vorruk argued for 3 more hours without resolution. The Brel knocked over a decorative panel. The Zthauvek representative left twice and came back smelling strange. The humans sat there, still, quiet, watching. At the end of the session, when the chamber finally dissolved into the usual chaos of shouting and corridor meetings, I watched Petra Okafor gather her materials. Slowly, carefully, she shook hands with 3 representatives, nodded to 2 others, said something quiet to Tommo, who finally looked up from his datapad and nodded once. Then they walked out. No announcement, no statement, no dramatic speech. They simply left. I filed my session report. I noted the unusual behavior. I flagged it for Elder Mauv's attention with the category marker I had developed specifically for human-related incidents. Unclear, but probably significant. Elder Mauv called me in the next morning. His 8 eyes were not blinking at all, which was the Telehari equivalent of severe anxiety. He said, "Vorruk, the humans have withdrawn their forum ambassadorial staff, all of them, overnight." I sat down without being invited to. He did not object. "They left a message," he said. He pushed the data crystal across his desk toward me. 1 line. I picked it up. 1 line, clean, simple, no anger, no threats, no dramatic language at all. Just a statement of fact, the kind a person makes when they have made a decision so completely that explaining it feels unnecessary. I read it 3 times. I set the data crystal down. "Elder Mauv," I said. "Yes, Vorruk. I think," I said carefully, "we have made a very significant mistake." He looked at me with all 8 of his eyes. "How significant?" he said. I thought about Petra Okafor's face. That expression I had not been able to name. I had a name for it now. Done. She had looked done. "I do not know yet," I said, "but I think we are about to find out." The message the humans left behind was 11 words. 11 words. After 63 years of membership, after hundreds of sessions, thousands of proposals, and what I personally calculated to be approximately 4 million cups of that dark liquid they insisted on bringing into the chamber every single morning. The message read, "We tried it your way. We will try it ours now." That was it. No signature. No formal letterhead. No diplomatic seal. Just 11 words sitting in a data crystal, on Elder Mauv's desk, radiating the kind of quiet that makes your insides feel cold. The forum's first reaction was, predictably, to pretend it had not happened. Elder Voss of the Vorruk declared the humans were posturing. Elder Bren of the Brel said they would return within 40 days. The Sthari representative said nothing, but I noticed she had started attending sessions more regularly than before, which for a Sthari means something, though I was not certain what. I kept filing reports. I kept noting things. That is my job. I notice things and write them down, and try not to have opinions about them, which is increasingly difficult when the things happening are objectively alarming. Day 1 after the withdrawal, human diplomatic vessels departed forum space in an organized, unhurried convoy. No aggressive posturing. No raised shields. They flew out like people leaving a meeting they had scheduled something better after. Day 8, 3 independent mining operations appeared in the Vela belt. Not human registered. Not forum registered, either. Registered to a new commercial entity called the Vela Open Corridor Authority. Headquarters. A station none of us had seen before, sitting just outside forum jurisdictional boundaries. Tommo Vance's name was on the founding documents. Day 14. The Sthari representative, whose name I will attempt to spell here as Zthauvek, came to my office. She sat across from me and looked at me with her pale, unblinking eyes for a long moment before speaking. "Scribe Vorruk," she said. "Did the forum leadership review the 3 human proposals about the Vela belt before tabling them?" "I cannot speak to the deliberations of forum leadership," I said carefully. "I reviewed them," she said. "Last night, all 3. She paused. "They were reasonable." I said nothing. "The 3rd one," she said, "would have given every party in this room a satisfactory outcome." I continued saying nothing. She stood up. "I wanted someone to know that I know that," she said. And she left. I sat in my office for a while after that, staring at my notes. Day 22. The Vela Open Corridor Authority announced it had signed resource sharing agreements with 4 non-forum species, minor powers. The kind of species the Forum had never bothered to fully court because they lacked sufficient fleet strength to be considered strategically important. The humans had apparently considered them important. Day 31, Elder Mauv called an emergency session. Every species present. The chamber was louder than I had heard it in years, which is saying something, because the baseline volume of that room is already enough to give you a persistent ringing in whatever auditory organs you happen to possess. Elder Voss was not calling it posturing anymore. Elder Bren of the Brel said they should send a formal invitation for the humans to return to the Forum, with concessions. His exact words were generous and immediate concessions, and the fact that Elder Bren was using the word generous was itself something worth noting, because the Brel have a word for generosity, but they treat it largely as a theoretical concept. The question was simple: what do we offer? The answer was complicated by the fact that what we needed to offer was accountability, an acknowledgement that 3 reasonable proposals had been ignored for 11 months for reasons that, when Elder Mauv finally put them plainly into words during that emergency session, amounted to, we did not believe the humans would stop waiting. The chamber went very quiet when he said that. He said it simply. No excuses wrapped around it, just the fact, sitting there in the middle of the room, small and terrible and completely obvious in retrospect. We had assumed the humans would keep trying, keep submitting, keep showing up with their food and their laughter and their maddening habit of being either infuriatingly patient or suddenly completely finished. We had not distinguished between the two states. We had assumed the patience was permanent. It was not permanent. That was the thing about the humans that apparently nobody had written down clearly enough. Their patience was enormous. Genuinely enormous. Larger than any other species I had encountered in 712 sessions of recorded diplomacy. They would try and adjust and resubmit and sit quietly in rooms where they were being ignored and come back the next day and try again. But it had a limit. A real one. And the terrible part, the part that Elder Mauv said out loud, and that I wrote into my report with the kind of steadiness you develop only after years of recording things that disturb you, was this: when humans decide they are finished, completely, and they do not appear to require our acknowledgement of that decision in order to proceed. Day 39, a Forum delegation was dispatched to open contact with the Vela Open Corridor Authority, formally, with documentation and seals and everything the Forum does when it wants to signal that it is taking something seriously. The humans received them, politely. Petra Okafor shook hands with every member of the delegation. Tommo Vance offered them that dark liquid, which 2 of them accepted, and 1 of them immediately regretted. Dayo Idris sat at the end of the table. He had a new notebook, already half full. The Forum representative, a careful and experienced diplomat named Elder Shorev of the Sithari, presented the Forum's offer. Concessions on the Vela Belt. A formal review of the tabling process. Structured timelines for proposal responses. Everything the humans had wanted 11 months ago. Petra listened to all of it. She did not interrupt. She did not laugh or clap or make a reference that confused everyone. She just listened, with her hands folded on the table, and her eyes very steady. When Elder Shorev finished, she nodded once. We appreciate the Forum's willingness to revisit these questions, she said. We will consider this proposal and respond within 30 days. Elder Shorev blinked. You will consider it. Yes, said Petra. The Forum had hoped for a faster timeline. Petra looked at him, not unkindly, but with an expression that I recognized from the session report I had filed 49 days ago. That expression of done, settled, decided. I am sure you did, she said. Tommo Vance was writing something. He did not look up. Dayo Idris was looking at the ceiling. I was not in that room. But Elder Shorev told me about it afterward, sitting in my office, with the look of someone who has just understood a joke that was told 6 months ago, and is only now realizing the joke was about them. Vorruk, he said. They are not angry. No, I said. That is worse, is it not? I thought about 11 words sitting in a data crystal. 11 words and 63 years and 3 proposals and 11 months of silence on our part met finally with 11 words and then silence on theirs. Yes, I said. That is considerably worse. He sat with that for a moment. Then he stood, straightened his formal robes, and walked out to file his report. I picked up my pen. I wrote at the top of the page, in letters larger than I usually write anything, "Do not assume patience is the same as unlimited patience." I underlined it, twice. Then I kept writing, because that is my job, and because someone in this galaxy full of species who are very confident about what other species will and will not do, needed to write it down before we forgot again.